dukkha is quite a difficult term. Dukkha is sometimes translated as suffering, or discontentment, maybe stress, and often it is translated as suffering. And the word suffering means a lot of things actually, and people relate to it differently. And suffering could be, I'm really suffering because I just had an accident and I need to go to the hospital. I'm really suffering. Or I lost something, and something precious of mine. I drop it in the water somewhere, in a river while I'm on a boat, like your phone, your phone. I'm really suffering. I just bought this, or I just got this, Or people, refer to suffering as your whole house has to be burned before they suffer. Whereas the Buddhist understanding of suffering is actually more subtle than that. Well, it is not to say that is not suffering, all the examples that I gave you. But the suffering that the Buddha was talking about was a bit more subtle. It still, let's say, includes the suffering that I just explained, but it is a subtle suffering that is persistent in all of our lives. It's about the suffering of the things never last. Like we often experience things like happy things or unhappy things, and they don't really last. I mean, we are happy when unhappy things are not lasting, but happy things, meeting friends and going out, being healthy, let's say. I'm sure that some of us are not so healthy compared to in the past, or those that were unhealthy are now healthy. Or the lockdowns, the lockdowns was also a good example where a lot of people were suffering. But this suffering is sometimes can sometimes be remedied by Buddha's teachings. Buddha doesn't have to point that one out and give a whole teaching, Dhamma teaching about these things. Like, it's lockdown, we remove the lockdown and everyone should be happy again, right? Or you lost something, you got it back, you should be happy. You had an accident, a cut, and then it's done more nicely, it's sort of, healed, and you should be happy. That is not exactly the suffering I would say that the Buddha is pointing out. The suffering is about that whatever we are finding or experiencing is not lasting, and especially the nice things are not lasting. That's a bit more clear to us. It's like, when you get something nice, just think about, birthdays, when you get something nice, or for people that are called a pet, like a dog or a cat. That's very nice, it's very cute, very happy. But then after days, weeks, months, years, depending on each individual, you don't get aroused that much anymore with happiness. Like, oh, that's so happy, I'm still so happy about this. No. Sometimes what we do, trick ourselves, is make pictures. We make pictures or videos and we look at it and we go, oh yeah, how happy I was at the time. Oh, how nice it was at that time. But we all know that this doesn't last, which is not a problem, because what we do is often fill our lives with things that we prefer. We're always looking and seeking for continuous happiness or continuous nice things. Things that, meet more friends or more people, or keep meeting them, or go on holiday once and then go again and again, getting newer things, maybe for guys are maybe more gadgetry stuff, or, maybe for other people it's maybe nice clothing, or, whatever your preference is, where you get happy from. But it's this constant seek, unrelentlessly looking for happiness or object of happiness, or things that you like, or think about things that you like. Music, keep repeating the music that you like. Because if you don't do that, it feels sort of not good. Something is missing, something is really not there. So it was very clearly in the lockdowns, people could see that they were locked down, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't meet the people. All the physical activities that you would do outside the house, or or other people, mixing with other people, you could not do it. And suddenly, hopefully, people realized, oh, this is what I prefer to do, and if I don't do this, there's this feeling boiling up in me that's unpleasant. And that feeling I want to get away from, And after the lockdown, or now, let's say, it's you can do it. You should be happy, right? This is finished. Everything is okay. But then another thing is coming. Like whatever that thing is, you're also not in a constant state of happiness. So it's that sort of feeling of, nothing is really fully satisfying, It doesn't matter what you do. Like often you give people more years, even you have nice things. After a while, it's not so nice anymore, or not as nice. You meet a person, they're very nice in the beginning, and then they are different and not nice. And are they actually different, or am I different? Or is it something that I'm expecting that things should last longer, but they actually doesn't, and then you get disappointed all the time. And for some people, they are very sensitive to this repetitiveness of things, and they can see through that whatever they are doing, or a lot of things they are doing, this kind of character in these things are coming back all the time. And when that happens, they try to look for a solution for that. And often people turn into the spiritual side of it. But to explain it quite simply, the Buddha is actually explaining this particular feeling on unsatisfactory, that things never last and you don't have really full control over, and you keep experiencing this again and again, And he gives, of course, also extreme examples like aging, sickness, and death. We all age, and maybe you're too young to realize that you're really aging. But aging, I'm in my 40s. People are already talking about a different aging than when you were in your teens. It's more growing up. It's kind of different. But aging, what it comes with, a feeling of, experienced life already. It's going to repeat itself. And it's not going to be as nice as it was in the past. You're getting also a bit more, tired in the sense of your bodily functions are just not as good as it was in the past. So your whole experience of life is different, and it's like part of aging. But if you're young, it's really hard to understand. But you can maybe understand sickness. If those who are sick, you feel horrible, and you wish that it's going to be over. And that sickness is often that we cannot do much about it, that we have no control over. It's just inherent to our body system that we sometimes doesn't function well, so we get sick. We want to wish that away, let's say, and we can't. How we deal with that? And death, loss of someone, loss of a loved one especially, will come more dearer to you, and then you will have this feeling of that you don't know what to do, and you cannot replace it with something, like if your nice pet dies, you get another pet, it doesn't replace that kind of feeling. It might, divert your attention, but it doesn't take it away. And are these subtle feelings that the Buddha is teaching us, like how to deal with that. And he actually tried to explain in the Four Noble Truths, quite simply, the four things that he's actually saying, hey, I'm explaining to you, this is the suffering that we're talking about, the subtle suffering, the suffering that's within us. It exists. And then he says, but I know there's a cause for that. This doesn't exist just because of it. No, there's a cause that we are not aware of, maybe, and that's why this suffering exists. And if this cause is taken away, then there's no of this suffering. That's the third noble truth. So first is there's suffering, and then this is the origin, that's the cause. This is the second noble truth, and then the absence of suffering also exists. So this can be gone. The feeling of this dukkha, it can be gone. And then the fourth noble truth is to explain you how to do it. And he used this formula, and apparently that's a very a common formula for doctors in India, where they explain a certain type of condition, and then explain how you get this condition, and then how you there's a state that you can get rid of it, that exists, and then the antidote, the medicine, the Noble Eightfold Path. So that's also the feeling how I can experience dukkha. The dukkha in oneself is that constant feeling of it's not enough, this is not it, or I'm very happy but I'm not that happy anymore, or I'm sad and it changes again, I'm neutral again but it's coming back again. And that constant feeling, sensitive feeling of life, there's something missing, and then the feeling of I need to find something for that, I need to cure it, I need to get something for that, And of course there are things like, feeling hungry and then you eat something and that's it. What is the big deal? You feel lonely, you find some people and that's it, you meet up. But for some people they can see the repetitiveness, not only in the activities, but also in our mind states. Now we're happy, now we're not. Now we're excited, now we're not. Now we're bored, now we're not. Now we're angry, and now we're not. And some people find that bothering, that it keeps changing and shifting. And they try to find a way out to understand this. And I think that is how I would explain dukkha and how we could experience it. To make a difference, or the spectrum, to provide you a spectrum of suffering, let's say. And maybe the coarsest type of suffering is maybe not entirely what the Buddha is trying to explain.